It was fall, quiet, beautiful, dry. I was wandering slowly, stumbling over my own feet, through a forest where there wasn't a single sound. No wind, no birds, nothing. Everything was settling down for hibernation, or had long since flown south. At times, it felt like the cursed forest was watching me with contempt, mocking me. Look at the foolish little man. He's lost. But for foolish little men, there's a solution. They die. I walked on, hating myself, the forest, and everything else. And life, as if to mock me, gave me a gift. Just 2 days earlier, I had come here to wander through the woods with a thoughtful gaze, to enjoy it, to breathe the fresh air. The weather then was fatally beautiful, and I thought it would be a crime to just stroll for an hour near the edge. So, taking a small supply of food and water, I went deeper, photographing the beauty and enjoying my surroundings. After 2 hours, my thoughtful walk became a curse. I realized I was lost, but I didn't lose hope. I couldn't have gone that far. I decided the way out was that way. Some instinct told me, yes, that's the exit, and I needed to head in that direction. I shuddered when I remembered my phone was still clipped to its holder in the car. The only thing I could call for help with was a fallen tree, and there were plenty of those. The nightmare began not at night, but in the evening. My watch showed a pathetic, stinking 6 p.m., but it was already impossible to walk through the forest. It was dark. Despite the early hour, a time when witches have just woken up and vampires have barely turned over in their coffins to go back to sleep, I felt a colossal, primal terror. I had to occasionally take pictures with my camera, thank God for the flash, because it felt like someone was walking near me. It was a horrible, horrible feeling. I was alone in a forest that could be seen almost from end to end. The fire was a traitor. It betrayed me. It was supposed to provide comfort and coziness, but in reality, it only made things worse. It blinded me. And right next to me, I could hear its footsteps. A soft shh, shh, shh behind the neighboring tree made me flinch and snap another photo with the flash. But every single time, there was nothing in the picture. At 9 p.m., it started rustling brazenly right beside me. I swear I thought I saw a shape. I ripped a smoldering branch from the fire and charged toward the sound, screaming, "Go on, kill me, do it. I have nothing left to lose." I ran to the spot, lighting my way with the makeshift torch, but no one was there. The noise came again, very close to my left. The footsteps started moving away, but they were so close I felt I could almost grab whoever was toying with me. I lunged after them, but again, failure. I screamed at the jerk to show himself, but he just kept walking. The last time, he even gave me a slight push, which made me shriek like a banshee and jump on the spot. Only on the third try did I realize how blind I'd been. The campfire was far away. It was luring me away from it. And while before it was stomping around at a distance, now it was practically grabbing my arm. The branch wasn't burning as brightly anymore. What would happen when it went out? "Show yourself!" I yelled, and scrambled back in the opposite direction of the footsteps. At that moment, I considered it an extremely clever plan. When I got back, my teeth started chattering from a fierce chill, a chill caused by terror. My hands automatically started feeding more brushwood into the fire to get rid of the goosebumps. "What a psycho," I whispered, laughing nervously, snot dripping from my nose. I realized I had been on the very edge, a hair's breadth from disaster. Where was my brain? Why didn't you just piss your pants right away instead of going to investigate? Are you stupid? What were you thinking? No one would ever play with you like that. It must be an evil spirit that lives here, and it was leading you straight to the afterlife. The thought that I had gone so far from the fire terrified me. I'd heard scary stories about travelers being led into the darkness to be killed or eaten. Or even worse, the spirits would eat them and then return to their homes in their victims' forms. Evil spirits without names, or if they had them, no one knew them. They gave people no chance if they stumbled upon them. And here, something was just rustling, and I went running to see what it was. Curiosity killed the cat. Sit tight and watch the fire. The night fell hard. Steam billowed from my mouth like smoke. I paced around the fire, consuming my meager supplies of food and water. As if all the misfortunes that had befallen me weren't enough, I started to develop a cough. It was light for now, but I could already feel it progressing. I knew that by tomorrow, I'd likely be hacking like a sick dog. The rustling continued, trying to pique my interest. Then it stopped. But when it returned, there were 4 of them, one on each side of me. I sat in silent horror, hoping it would be nothing more than rustling. I could handle rustling. But if some otherworldly creature attacked with a wild roar, I think I'd pass out before it even sank its teeth into my throat. I folded my hands like a monk. Fear itself must have forced me to do it. Apparently, deep inside every person, there's some mechanism whose reflection is this kind of silent plea. I didn't know any prayers. I couldn't even pray for the salvation of my soul, but I desperately wanted to be saved. So I began to do as my heart told me, whispering pleas and bargaining with the unknown forces, begging the higher powers to grant me life and peace in this dreadful forest. And it was as if someone above heard and took pity on me. At some point, I fell silent. Just think. I'm alone in this forest. I'm sitting here, surrounded by the horror of the night. And I was starting to lose my mind. I chuckled. Who would have thought I'd start talking to myself out of fear? God, how I wished I had a partner, a living person, hell, even an enemy, as long as they were alive and not this nightmare that was stretching its sticky threads toward me. But I had to push back the madness and figure out how to sleep. Like it or not, I had to sleep. I realized this line of thought was completely true. I had no living helpers, but I did have a smartwatch with an alarm function. Once I got used to the rustling around me, I made a makeshift bed from dry grass and leaves and spent about 2 hours gathering fuel. I knew I wouldn't go out for more in the middle of the night, so I'd only wake up to add more wood. I roughly estimated how long the fire would burn. It came out to about 40 minutes. 40 minutes of restless slumber, not even real sleep. Then I'd have to get up, add fuel, and forget myself again for another 40 minutes. I set a ton of alarms, knowing that if I missed one or turned it off without getting up, I would remain here forever. Hoping for the best, I settled down next to the fire. I thought that because of the nightmare I had just lived through, I wouldn't be able to sleep. But I was out as soon as my eyes closed. For me, the alarm went off in what felt like a second. I opened my eyes, didn't even rub them, and threw more fuel on the fire. A whirlwind of sparks shot up, and in their light, I saw what had been scaring me from all sides. I screamed, grabbed my camera, and with trembling fingers, took a picture. On the screen, I saw them. Dead people, with red eyes and semi-transparent bodies, sitting on the ground, clinging to it, poised like aggressive predators. There were many of them. Among them were a couple of tall, pitch-black silhouettes, and they radiated death. I started screaming, screeching, trying to drive them away, but the dots of their eyes didn't leave. I whispered those same prayers, clutching my knees, rocking back and forth, moaning and whining. After a couple of sleepless nights, I decided to try to sleep again. Morning would come soon. I managed to sleep twice before the night gave way to some terribly dark twilight, but I was glad. The dreams were wild. The dead dragged me into the woods, shook me out of my skin as if it were a suit, and stuffed leaves into it like a sack, cackling all the while. And those shadows would come closer, tearing off my limbs and eating them. Yes, those were the kinds of dreams I had, heavy, grim, and almost unbearable. But then they vanished and faded away. The illness progressed. I was shivering, and I mean really shivering. I had practically crawled into the fire. How am I supposed to walk? I thought, shaking like a leaf in the wind. A coughing fit seized me. I coughed until I spat out a thick yellow-green phlegm filled with slimy strands. Well, I guess I'll have to manage somehow, I thought, finishing the last of my food. Every last crumb was devoured. The journey through the forest was relatively successful until the evening. I walked, rested sometimes, slept a little. The weather was pleasant and sunny, just like the day before. I would even say it was warm, but I was shaking so badly that the only thing that felt warm to me was a fire. By evening, things got really bad. I was exhausted, and the illness hadn't gone anywhere. It was developing. I was sometimes on the verge of losing consciousness. Remembering the experience of the previous night, I began to prepare for this one before twilight fell. In the fall, there's very little time between dusk and complete darkness. It seems like the sun sometimes just plummets below the horizon. I managed to build a shelter from fallen branches and leaves, a very simple and primitive canopy. Yes, it would leak 100 times over. And yes, it was the first time I'd ever built one, with no strength or tools. But I was glad that at least from one side, I wouldn't see whatever might be crawling around out there. The construction and wood gathering finished right at dusk. I lay down on my pallet, set my alarms, and tried to sleep. That was all I could do. The whole day I had walked without knowing where I was going. Was I maintaining a specific direction? Of course not. I felt so sick that I didn't even care. So there was no talk of direction. I just walked, moving somewhere, hoping to meet people or hear the sound of something. I even recited my made-up prayer, a prayer that, if fulfilled, promised living people in the forest. Apparently, I'm not good at writing texts. I need to invent a new appeal, I thought, as I drifted off. The first awakening was awful. Honestly, I thought I had gone blind. I sat up, opened my eyes, and my head felt like it was filled with lead. A faint ringing started in my ears. The fire was out. Either I had slept through all the alarms and woken up on the last one, or maybe. But why the hell was it so dark? Why hadn't the forest devils and the dead finished me off? I started coughing, a strong, terrible cough that hurt my lungs. Still alive. For now. Dead people have no need to cough. The image returned gradually, in quick, tiny dots, and after half a minute I could see everything again. The fire, which had been my only guardian, protecting me and my peace from the restless things that roamed the forest, offering a deadly peace if I only dared to step in. I felt nauseous. I almost threw up on myself, but thankfully there was nothing in my stomach. I hadn't eaten or drunk anything in a long time. Because of the illness, I hardly felt hunger or thirst. I threw more wood on the fire. It crackled as it consumed them. I lay back down, realizing I was burning up with a fever. You barely managed to get up just now. What are the chances your corpse will be here by morning? There's always a chance. But I still hope to get out, I thought, as I fell back into sleep. The dreams were wild, disjointed, and caused me almost physical pain. One moment hyenas were eating me. The next, for some goddamn reason, I was riding a wild boar. Then suddenly, I'd be in a village with some woman making me breakfast, and half a second later, I'd be running from huge red demons chasing me with pitchforks. Yes, such insane, painful dreams. I only vaguely remember how the night passed. I would wake up, wait for my vision to return, throw wood on the fire, and lie down again. When twilight came, I threw the last of the wood on, curled up into a ball, and decided to sleep until my face cracked. The dangers of the night were gone. To say I woke up would be a loud statement. I came to my senses, that's more accurate. I was being shaken. I coughed nonstop for 2 minutes, feeling phlegm fly out of me. I wanted to drink, so badly that I thought I would dry up like a husk. The pain forced me, almost with tears, to unfold my body and stand up. I was dying. You didn't need to be a doctor or a genius to understand that if I didn't die today, I would for sure tomorrow. Though judging by how I felt, I was ready to drop dead at any moment. The quiet forest, the cool air, it all seemed so insane to me. Yes, that's right, I reasoned, slowly trudging along. You'd think, rejoice, live, and everything around you screams it. And surely, kilometers from here, someone is doing just that. Maybe even in this very forest, someone is grilling meat with women and truly living and rejoicing. And I am dying. It was a mockery, a spit in the face. I hated the good weather. I wanted it to rain. It would have finished me off faster. Walking was a burden. I had to stop often. My vision would go dark sometimes. A couple of times, I fell into the leaves, not particularly caring about the consequences. I had overestimated things. I wasn't going to die tomorrow. I was going to die tonight. I had just collapsed to rest for a bit, but I started thinking, reasoning. And I have to admit, I was calm. I was tired of cursing to myself and out loud. I was tired of whispering and mumbling, asking for help from who knows who. I didn't know what to do or how to survive here. I never thought I'd get so turned around just near the edge of the woods. I wasn't prepared for anything, least of all death. Can you ever be ready to die? What is it like to die? What awaits beyond the border of life? A new life? Rebirth? Or maybe nothing? That's a very good question, the answer to which I would soon find out. I had no strength left to fight, nor the skill. I curled into a ball, lying on the ground. The shaking was starting again. A beautiful grave, actually, I thought, looking at the leaves. Not everyone is given the chance to die so peacefully, and though like this, of natural causes. How many unfortunate souls like me just fell somewhere and died? In the winter, my grandmother and grandfather used to say that someone had frozen to death, lay down in a snowdrift, and the blizzard covered them with the whitest, cleanest blanket. It always seemed strange to me. How can you die almost at your own home? But it turns out you can. And this is more or less how it happens. And the mystical stuff, what was that during those nights? Who were they? The spirits of those who died in the forest? Or the souls of those devoured by those black shadows? I will never know. Or maybe it's signs. They say that right before death, when only the last hours remain, the body can mobilize your final resources and give you, and itself, a few excellent hours of life. Your condition stabilizes, the pain goes away, and you feel better. What if, just before that state, you begin to see what awaits you after death? After all, what difference does it make now, when you don't have much time left to live? Maybe so. We haven't progressed very far in this matter, so any statement can be neither refuted nor proven, I thought, as I drifted into sleep. A stone, slick, wet, and darkness. I was in some kind of cave or a very large room because my cough echoed multiple times. I'm dead. Well, what do you know? I didn't think death and what lies beyond would look like this. Dying isn't so painful. Not yet, something replied from the darkness in front of me. I wanted to be scared, but then I thought, what difference does it make now? I'm dead. Who are you? The one you can help. How can I help you? Are you crazy? Can't you see I'm dead? I can't even help myself anymore. The voice came closer, and nearby, red, furious, evil human eyes flared up. They were red with black pupils. They hated. I could feel it. Their only message to the world was hatred, but I didn't much care. You can leave this place, it said. Leave and stay alive. Live your life, yes, but we need to make a deal. You're a demon? In a sense, yes. You died in the forest, on my territory, where I collect souls. But I see that you are different from the other dead, which is why I came to you. I couldn't see him, only those huge eyes, each the size of a fist. But it didn't scare me. And how am I different? That doesn't matter. But I also want something from you, and from life. I can offer you 2 services, and 2 contracts. Whether you accept them or not is your business, but I wouldn't refuse. What services? A return to life, and a gift. Each service has its own contract. Deal? Go on. I'll hear your offer first. Silence settled. The eyes narrowed. I would have bet all my phlegm, my cough, and my frost-bitten kidneys that it was smiling. Of course, the demon had almost outsmarted the dumb little human. I will return you to life. You will wake up whole, healthy, without any sickness or ailments. And you will understand how to get out of the forest and never get lost in it again, no matter how hard you try. In return, I will one day come and ask something of you. I can't say what the request will be, but you must agree to fulfill it. The second is a gift. I can grant you 1 talent, 1 ability, 1 special feature. To devour essence. Whatever you consume with the desire to obtain a talent or skill, you will devour its essence. Eat a wise man, you will become wise. Eat a cat with the desire to land on your feet, and you will always land on them. You can devour and extract essence, taking it for yourself. In return, I will ask you to give something up. but I cannot name what. These are my terms. Will you accept them? Deal, I answered easily. Life, after all, is a bitter thing, but a pleasant one. And as for the demon, or almost demon, I'll deal with that question later. So be it, the creature said, and I woke up. I stood up easily. I tried to cough, but nothing. I felt as if I weren't 35, but 18 at most. I could run, breathe, rejoice. I knew where I was and where I needed to go. A map of the area had literally appeared in my mind. There was no chance of getting lost. I instinctively knew the right direction. I even broke into a light jog. With such talents, skills, and opportunities, it would be strange not to use them. The red-eyed creature's words wouldn't leave me alone. First, the payment. I guessed he would probably ask for my son or daughter when I had them. But why mine specifically? Second, the thought that I could possess any skill that popped into my head. But eating a cat or a dog, I didn't want to. And I certainly didn't want to eat people. But the idea, the temptation, the very essence of the matter, I couldn't let it go. I thought, not now, not today, but tomorrow, I will definitely take that strange and frightening step. And after that, there will be no stopping me. I lived my normal life. Work, home, work, rest. I went out, dated my girlfriend, and everything was heading toward a wedding. I don't know why, but the stereotype that the demon would appear at that exact moment was firmly stuck in my head. But that wasn't the main thing. The main thing was that with each passing day, I thought about it. I thought about the power, the possibility, the chance. What would you do? Imagine you can have almost anything. It's better than money. What is money compared to brains? Dust. Imagine the strength of a bear. You could punch people knee-deep into the asphalt. Or its resilience. Killing you would become not just difficult, but almost impossible. But the conditions, they weren't like that for no reason. They were strange for a reason. He wants something. He wants me to use my new talents. But why? What's in it for him? What if I get so carried away that he just takes everything back? If he could give it, he could easily take it away. He's probably not even human. Those eyes were the size of fists. So what's his angle in giving me such powers? A normal person? No, an unusual one. He said I was different from the others, but in what way? I'm not some shaman. I don't have 3 arms, for crying out loud. The cunning, tricky bastard. And what could he ask of me? My child? That's also strange. Why mine? Why not any other? The world is surely full of special people. I could steal one for him. No, that's complete nonsense. He could do it himself. So what's the deal? It's as if he's not a demon with bloody eyes, but a good-hearted fairy ready to grant my every wish. But I'd heard stories about witchcraft and witches, and I knew for sure that any power, any side, light or dark, would exact its full payment from you. Hell, even in real life, you rarely get something for nothing. That's it. You've convinced me, I thought. I jumped up from the couch, went to the TV, glanced out the window, and lit a cigarette right there in the living room. It had already been a 2nd month since my miraculous rescue, about which I had chosen to remain silent, telling no one about demons and talents. But damn, it was good. What a talent he offered. He even casually mentioned the cat, like, "Here, bro, eat a cat, no big deal." I started getting ready quickly, grabbed my wallet, and went outside. I needed to get it urgently, right now. The object from which I was going to extract essence was a chameleon. I had been obsessed with them since I was a kid, watching how they could just whoosh and change color. I had no idea why I needed this stupid ability, but I wanted it. To be able to move my eyes independently. Of course, they have other talents, like shooting their tongue out, but I wanted something less radical. What if, I don't know, my face turned into a reptilian's after this? Reptilians rule the world. I'd buy a lizard at the pet store, find a small one, eat it, and be happy. Eating a cat, you'd actually have to kill and eat it. And we have boars running around our apartment building that can barely fit through the door. And I liked cats. But lizards? Not so much. I ate it. I ate the small chameleon, shoving it into my mouth quickly and choking down the disgusting thing. I ate it with a clear understanding of what I wanted. Yes, it was a silly ability. Yes, it was a strange and useless talent. But I had to start somewhere. When I finished it, I was hit by such a wave of pain that I fell off my chair in soaked shorts. It felt like needles were shoved into my eyes, reached my skull, and someone was scraping it with a fork. Everything inside my skull was burning so intensely that my heart seized up, and I thought I was going to check out. But then the pain subsided. This happened about 2 hours later, and I realized the new ability had taken root. First, my eyes had changed. They became different. Second, I realized one very important thing. If I had eaten, for example, a wolf and wanted its teeth, my face would have definitely elongated, and I would have looked more like a monster than a person. I literally praised myself for my stupidity, for not wishing for the strength of a bear or the health of a horse. Who knows how that ability would have changed me, and if I would have been able to survive it. From that moment on, my life changed completely and irrevocably. I couldn't stop myself. This ability was a childhood dream, to climb walls, see in the dark, be as strong as a superhero. And well, I must admit, I completely lost my mind over it and began the process of acquiring power. Over the next week, I devoured a mass of animals, just a mass, and my powers grew by the hour, or rather my talents. All thanks to the pet stores in my city. I bought animals, both common and not so common, ate them, and took their talents. After a week, I was essentially a superhuman. Well, actually, there was a snag. In a fit of gastronomic madness, I desired claws. I thought they would grow on my fingers, but my fingers themselves became claws. I also wanted to see in the dark, which led to my eyes enlarging. And I wanted strength, which led to an increase in muscle mass. And I became covered in fur so long that there was no point in shaving. In short, I stopped being human. I began to resemble a werewolf. Only if a werewolf is a wolf mixed with a human and its talent is probably not performing in a circus. Okay, joke. Its talent is strength and all that. And they look, well, I looked like a werewolf with deviations. Scrawny compared to them, with ridiculous little claws and a funny human head. And then it was completely over. I lost the ability to speak. I simply lost everything human, assembling myself like a constructor set. I ran through the forest, looking for something, anything that would help me get red eyes, because I still remembered my meeting with the demon, or almost demon, and I wanted eyes just like his. And when I become perfect, in terms of existence, then I can show myself to people. Then I can take revenge on them. I will gift myself a monstrous intellect and become the very best. Time passed. I had become almost completely wild, changed myself, and lost any ability to communicate with people. All I could do was listen and understand. But I never got the red eyes. And so, while eating a boar, just for food this time, I was sitting under a tree, and at some point a person appeared. A normal person with red eyes. But normal.
"Oh, hello," he said. "I see my gifts have taken root in you." I growled. "Oh, you don't have to bother with an answer," he said. "I know what you're thinking, and what about. But before I explain what's going on, let me tell you the story of what happened. I won't lie. This gift is a curse, not a gift. And I'm not the first one to fall for its bait. This has been going on for many years. Once upon a time, a very cunning and greedy shaman wished to get an ability from every animal. And he managed to collect an unbelievable zoo of powers, aided by his witchcraft skills and magic. He was the first to stop being human and become something else. He was fast, strong, cunning, and so on. But he had one dream: to have red eyes like the demons, so that others would think he himself was a demon and their equal. The demons, hearing of such audacity, decided to play along. They brought him the smallest, most insignificant, not even a demon, but something that hadn't even fully formed yet. And when he ate it, they recognized him as an equal and congratulated him. But they said that now, since he was a demon, it was his duty to sit here and guide the souls of the dead out of the forest, until someone agreed to take his place, in both the literal and figurative sense. And they gave him his abilities. For 200 years he lived here in this forest. For 200 years he guided souls to the other side. And then he got tired. He was tired, but he couldn't leave. No matter how much he ran from the forest, no matter how far he went, something unseen and inexorable always brought him back. But he understood that only a replacement would free him. He couldn't even die, for he was part of the system, a tiny cog, and you can't just leave this system. And the demons? They laughed at the shaman, who was just doing a part of their work for free. And then the shaman came up with a plan. He would appear to dying people and offer them a deal that couldn't be cheated, with the demons as witnesses. And if the person agreed, there was no backing out of it. The one who received the gift would sooner or later repeat the shaman's path, or rather, almost his path. The new host would get new possibilities, but he also passionately wanted red eyes and the power of a demon. And at that moment, the shaman, well, in this case, me, would appear. When you got huge teeth, I lost that ability. When you got claws, my claws disappeared. Everything you acquired was something I lost. But what remained was that which cannot be obtained through the gift: the power and eyes of the demon. Therefore, I command you to fulfill our contract. I asked you to fulfill my request in exchange for returning to life. And it is this: you will accept the power and eyes of that creature. Something literally dragged me toward the man. I took his hands and screamed as power surged into my paws and my eyes burned with fire. My second request was to give something up. So, give me your death. For by accepting the demon's ability, I lost my own. But I will take yours, because I am so tired, the man said, falling to the ground, dead. And I understood. how cunning and clever the shaman had been. I'll say more. Each subsequent successor of the gift brought something of their own to the common set, which was a mistake. The shaman had only 4 animals: a boar, a bear, a crow, and a fox. I also had those 4 animals because, as was said before, we all repeat the path, only bringing our own additions.
Now I will guide souls to the other side. And this will continue until I get tired of it and want death for myself and find my own successor.